Sup y'all, it's your boy Asmongold, and today I want to talk to you guys about the recent developer Q&A that happened today. So I guess for you guys it would be yesterday, between Lore, who's one of the community managers, asking Ian Hazzikostas, who's one of the lead game designers for World of Warcraft, a lot of fan submitted questions that are mostly pertaining to Legion, but they did talk a little bit about Pristine Servers, which tangentially relates over to Legacy Servers. So what I wanted to do for you guys in this video is kind of go over what I thought was important, what I kind of took away from this Q&A, where I think that you guys need to know about, and also have a little bit of a discussion about some of the things that were talked about in the Q&A. But before I do that, I do want to say one thing, which is I think that honestly, guys, out of all the expansions, Legion has probably done the best job already, or Blizzard has done the best job at communicating with us and kind of doing these Q&A sessions, these, I guess, like fireside chat sessions. And one thing I also want to say is that this Q&A session is one of many. There are already two other ones that I know are going to be planned. There's going to be one about professions and another one about PvP. So I think this is a very, very good thing. I remember back in the day, Ghostcrawler used to do things that were similar to this, where he would come down and just talk with people and kind of talk about where they were trying to take the game, what their philosophy was. And seeing Ian do this for us now is, even whenever I'm hearing things that I don't want to hear, which is a lot of stuff in this Q&A session, I do really appreciate them doing that for us. And I mean, they don't really have to, but they do it, and I do always really appreciate that. So it's funny because I would rather hear things that I don't want to hear than hear nothing at all. So I'm glad that they're doing these Q&A sessions, even, as I said, if they're saying things that I don't want to hear. So let's go ahead and start. The first thing that they said is that the talent change, there's been like 20 different variations, not 20, but like 5 different variations of how talents are going to be changed in Legion. Currently, what's going on is you're going to be able to have tomes that kind of are very, very expensive that allow you to change your talents, and outside of that, you're able to change your talents with no reagent cost, as long as you're in a rested area. So I don't really think this is a good thing. I think it's kind of dumb, but they're also changing something at the beginning of Arena. You know how you can change your talents and your spec and everything freely without any cost. Well, whenever you join a dungeon, as soon as you queue into that dungeon, or you enter that dungeon, I'm assuming you're going to have probably a grace period of like a minute or so where you can change your talents freely right before the dungeon, the same way that it works in Arena and in Battlegrounds. I think this is a really, really good change. And even though I don't like the underlying principle behind it, I do think that this is probably the best way they could do it if they're going to stick with this, which I hope they will not. Now, also, they said that Legion is going to have a lot more patch content. Now, they also said, Ian just straight up said, he said he understands if we don't believe him. And he's right. I'll believe it when I see it. Okay, and I really do hope that I'm proven wrong. Okay, I really do hope that they do this. Mists of Pandaria had a lot of really strong patch content. They had the Dominance Offensive. They had the patch 5.2. The Thunder Isle thing, and then they also had Timeless Isle. Mists of Pandaria had a lot. They probably had more patch content added in than Warlords of Draenor had in general. So altogether. So I would really like to see them be moving back to that, and they said that they were using Mists of Pandaria as kind of a model of how they're going to be doing their patches in Legion. So I'd really, really be glad to see if that's going to be the case, and I would also like to see new dungeons and everything, but I think that's probably going to happen in Legion. But anyway, so that's obviously a really good thing, but he just straight up said, he understands if we don't believe them, because they've said this many times before, and so hopefully it will happen this time. This time is probably the best chance that we have of it happening, but who knows if it's actually going to happen. Now, also, he said something that's going to make a lot of people happy, is that yearly expansions are just not going to happen. They said that they were going to do that as a way to kind of combat the content droughts, but they found out, just because basically everybody said, that nobody really wanted yearly expansions. So yearly expansions are no longer kind of like a plan for them, and I'm very glad to hear that. Also, the Oldor style hard modes might make a comeback in some fashions whenever they feel, the developers feel like they fit into the encounter. They don't want to have to kind of make a button that you have to press, or a certain mob kill combination for every single boss for it to drop higher level gear. Now, I understand where they're coming from, but I would also really like to see a lot of hard modes added into the game in pretty much every single I guess like every single boss that I could think of in Highmall and BRF and HFC. There are a lot of different, I guess, like different things that you could do that would make the fight significantly harder, that could warrant you better gear. And I do really think that Blizzard misses a lot of opportunities at replayable content and also cool different things that people can work on, even in next expansions if they're that difficult, for them to kind of do on their own. I think that Ulduar had, like, Ulduar in a lot of ways was probably the epitome of raiding in WoW, I think. It had probably some of the best activated hard modes in the same way, not just toggled hard modes like we'll have in Legion. And also on top of that, it had a lot of other achievements that you could do that didn't necessarily give you something else, but they were something that you could kind of work towards even if you, even if it's not going to give you better gear. It's like something to do whenever your raid's bored and they're clearing your content. I would really like to see that come back, but I don't know if we will. We'll see that any way or another. He also used the example of Terrors of the Endless Spring, the first boss, Protectors of the Endless. If you killed Kalin, who's the melee mob, last, that's like the elite mode, and you can get better gear from that. You got 503 from the elite mode normal, and 516 from the elite mode on heroic. And he said nobody really did that, and so that was kind of an incentive for them not to do that content again. Personally, I think that the main reason for that is because that tier was cut short. A lot of people hadn't even finished killing Shah of Fear, so they weren't even going to have time to work on Heroic Protectors of the Endless, which was actually supposed to be harder than Shah of Fear Heroic. So, or Heroic Elite Protectors of the Endless, which is harder than Heroic Shah of Fear. So I don't really think that that's a very valid comparison, but I do think that a lot of people do look back on the Ulduar hard modes and think that, this is how it should have been. This is how hard mode should be done. So I would really like to see a lot of that stuff come back in Legion, even if it's not necessarily a better loot reward, but just some sort of achievement or bragging rights or something like that. I think that would be very, very important. Now, also something called Thal Danath. I'm not even really sure what that is, honestly, but it was apparently some sort of night elf city or area that was going to be added. It was very early on in the beta or the alpha or something in the map, and then they took it off the map. It's not going to be in Legion. They said they're not going to do it, and they said they have a better idea instead. Obviously, I think it's going to be Culture S. I read some stuff on Reddit that made me think that, and I don't know if it will, but that would be what I would bet on. And they did that because it was just going to be another Night Elf city that was going to be pretty much like, I guess, like swarming with Legion, and they already have so much of that stuff already in Legion. It would end up being kind of repetitive. So Culture Ass would kind of be a step away from that, since we don't have any real human encampments except for the small places in Stormheim. So I do think Culture Ass is probably what they're going to add instead, but who really knows? Now, also the Suramar quest lines, which are kind of like that's like the single player like solo progression content. One of the forms of solo progression content in Legion will be expanded in future patches. So in 7.1 there'll be new stuff, 7.2 there'll be new stuff, and I'm assuming. So I think that's also a really, really good thing. The stories in Suramar, I thought it was just going to be a bunch of bullshit, honestly, but the more I've done it, the more I've actually really enjoyed it. They've done a really, really good job with Suramar, so I would like to see them put more focus on that, and also creating more content that's similar to Suramar. Now, also, they kind of did a parallel to that with Warlords of Draenor. Warlords of Draenor, they, again, straight up said that they missed a lot of opportunities, specifically with Shadowwrath being a raid. So I always thought it was going to be, because they put so much work into that, and they weren't going to do anything with it. Like, what the fuck? So, I think that's good. I do really appreciate some form of just straight, plain speaking and honesty. Even if it's negative or positive, I do appreciate it either way. So for them to at least acknowledge that, hey, things didn't go the way we wanted them to, I'm like, okay, good. So it's not like you're thinking like, oh, this was business as usual, because apparently it wasn't at least supposed to be. Also, the Blood of Sargeras, which is the Warlords of Draenor crafting materials. You think like Primal Nethers from Burning Crusade, Frozen Orbs from Wrath of the Lich King. What is it? There was some sort of one, Chaos Orb, right? Was something like that in Cataclysm. They're basically BOP crafting materials. They're not going to make them BOE. That's what they said. And the reason they're doing that is to make gathering professions, and gathering professions more complement the crafting professions. So like back in the day, if you were a blacksmith, you would want to also get mining so you could farm stuff for blacksmithing, and they're trying to move back to that paradigm. I probably will stick to engineering and blacksmithing because I don't really think crafting will be that important for me. At least it's not that important for me to switch off. But I can see a lot of other people dropping one of their other crafting professions to have a gathering profession that will complement and augment their crafting profession. So I think that's a very, very good thing. I think when everybody can do everything, the game no longer really... it just doesn't really feel like your accomplishments don't really feel as important because anybody can do that. And they kind of use the example, I guess, of like back in the day, whenever you'd have some sort of like rare pattern or something like that, obviously that would make your crafting more valuable. But now people basically craft at cost, and they don't really think that that's the way crafting should be, especially with how much work that people put into actually getting those patterns. So they are moving back to like kind of making crafting, giving the crafters a little bit more market power with what they have. Now, also, they did talk, as I said at the beginning of the video, they did talk a little bit about Pristine Servers, and basically, like, the way they're saying it, the way Ian said it, I don't think they're going to do them. I really don't think they're going to do them, and I hope they don't do them. I hope they don't do them. It seems like a waste of time. Just like everything about them seems like a waste of time, and I really do hope that they do not do Pristine Servers. And I don't really think that we'll hear anything about that. And they specifically said that the Pristine servers were not to placate or kind of satisfy the legacy server crowd. So I do still, this is a little bit wishful thinking, like, I'll be honest. But I do still think that we will probably hear something about legacy servers at BlizzCon, just by the way that everything lines up. We probably won't hear about another expansion, so there will be something about legacy servers. And I do think that it will probably be an announcement, but do not quote me on that. It is probably, as I said, wishful thinking. Anyway, Valor and Valor Point upgrades are not going to come back at the beginning of Legion. It might come back towards the end. That was a really big disappointment to me. I always thought Valor upgrades were a good way that you could invest in your character and invest in your gear by doing other content, but they're not going to be continuing that because they don't think it feels good for you to get an upgraded piece of gear and it not actually be good until you actually upgrade it. I completely disagree with that. I think it's a very, very bad mentality. I think you should be able to invest and work and build your current gear, but that's obviously not what they're going to be going with. So next thing is that Legion gear is pretty much all RNG. They're not going to be... They did this thing, right? Like Ian said, like, well, do you want every piece of gear to be buyable from a vendor, or do you want it to have at least some variation? And of course, we don't want everything to be buyable by a vendor. So we kind of set up, I guess, like what you'd say, a straw man, because nobody wants all gear to be buyable from a vendor. People just want a way to offset their RNG. Like, that's all they really want. And RNG can be part of the game. It's always been part of the game. It's a great part of the game. But at the same time, whenever you're completely tied to it, I don't really think it makes things as fun. And, or at least, I've spoken, as I said, again, at the beginning of the video, ad nauseum about this. I don't really like the whole RNG elements that they're adding into Legion, and seeing that they're going to be doubling down on them in the, attempts to kind of like create like this Skinner box thing. It's like I might look like a rat, but I don't want to be treated like one. So I'm a little bit disappointed. But anyway, that's what they're going to be doing. All gear, even Mythic Gear, that's what they said. It's that all gear is going to have the chance to Titan Forge. Titan Forging is like Warforged. Obviously, I'm not very happy about that. I would be happy with Titan Forging if they cap the item level on which gear can Titan Forge, which is like 5. They capped it at like 5 item levels under the current Mythic level gear. I don't really think that there should ever be a point where you can actually get gear that's better than Mythic Raid gear outside of a Mythic Raid. I just don't really think that that's how it should be. Anyway, that's, again, probably more part of the RNG. Now, they also said that they're not adding a dungeon set. Now, in Burning Crusade, they had dungeon sets, and also in Vanilla, they had dungeon sets. Ian used the example that you couldn't, you needed the dungeon sets in Vanilla, for example, because there were no other content. I think that Raids released in Vanilla at the same time as Vanilla, so I don't even know how that would be true to begin with. But also, even in Burning Crusade, they had dungeon sets, and Karazhan was out at the same time that Burning Crusade came out. So I don't really see why they said that. It doesn't even make sense. The dungeon sets were a really good way that people could progress their character through 5-mans, but they're not going to be doing that again, which is kind of disappointing. They do have the Class Hall set, though. The Class Hall set is kind of the Mists of Pandaria Challenge Mode lookalike gear, which I'm not very happy that they're reusing it, but the way... At a certain level, it's kind of okay because like it's not really the exact same. Okay, so most of the sets I don't really have too much of a problem with, but some I'm like, hey, this does look kind of similar. Like I don't really like it all that much, but oh well. I know that at least the Warrior set does look very, very different than the Challenge Mode set, so that's whatever. You know, I don't really care. I've still got my Challenge Mode set, and it's going to be very different. It's like you're never going to be confused at which the two sets are. It's kind of like between Tier 3 and Tier 7 and Tier 7.5. So anyway, you do have the Class Hall set, and the grind to get the Class Hall order set to actually finish it, because you have to do different things to get each different piece of gear, and it's like an 8-piece set or something like that. But if you do all of the things, in order to actually upgrade that gear up to like 810, and then once to like 830, then once to 840, then 850, it's a huge grind, and they really need to reduce the amount of time you need to put into getting that Class Order Hall set. I think that it could make players really feel good, like they're actually working towards a set. And that's one of the reasons why I've never really been a big fan of RNG in general, because I think it's important to have people working towards something. But I do think that, you know, at where the Class Order Hall set is right now, it's the least viable way of gearing up. And I do think that if you are going to make this entirely new set and a Class Order Hall set, there should be at least like a better path to it. And I think that the gear should cap out somewhere around 870 or 880 if you do really put the same amount of work into it that you have to put into it now to get to 850. 850 is comparatively not very high. So I would hope that they could improve the Class Order Hall set so people could actually really work towards it, because it is probably the only thing that you can actually work towards in Legion with some sort of guaranteed success towards getting it. Now also, let's see, what else did I wrote down some stuff. All right, he said, you're not at the whim of the random number generator, and then I put a little dash in my notes, and then I wrote LOL. Because of course you are. Of course you are. I mean, I don't know why he's saying that, because it's not true. But, you know, again, they are focusing on making the RNG. And I do understand what they're trying to do. And I'm going to explain to you guys what they're trying to do. Because even if I disagree with it, I will at least explain what they're trying to do. So what they're trying to do is make it to where players, there's not just one different type of content that people can do to improve their character. Right now in Warlords of Draenor, all roads lead to Hellfire Citadel. Everything you do, all of the time that you improve your character is revolving around Hellfire Citadel. There's nothing else you can really do to improve it outside of farming Valor points. And they want to kind of expand that to where you can do other things to improve your character. I've said that this would be a really, really good idea, but I just don't like the way that they're implementing it right now. So, that's kind of the idea. And also to, like, if you want to play with your friends that are a little bit under geared, and so you want to do like a heroic dungeon or something like that, there's still even a possibility, very, very small possibility, but a possibility that you can get an upgrade, like a super like Warforged, Titanforged socketed upgrade that could be competitive with your mythic level gear. And as long as it's not competitive with mythic level gear, I don't really care. But if it is, then I do care. But as long as it's under that, I think it's going to be a great system. So hopefully they do kind of balance it a little bit under that. So I don't know. I don't really think it's going to work too well. Now, also with the legendary items. The legendary items, before they said that there was going to be a way to target the legendary items. They said that they're not going to have that on release. I was really pissed off about that. I mean, there are certain legendary items that can provide a pretty big damage boost. The one that gives you an enrage whenever you 10 rage whenever you enrage as a Fury Warrior. The one that gives you 5% more on an execute target, especially if you have the Juggernaut talent or artifact trait. The one that gives you 2 extra whirlwind hits if you're hitting more than 3 targets. All of these, those 3 items right there are very, very powerful. And one person having them and one person not having them, equal skill, would probably provide a pretty big difference in DPS. And I just don't really think that it's fair for people to like not be able to even at least have a chance to get that. Fucking goddamn it. Sorry, that's my phone. to at least not have a chance to get that. So anyway, that was pretty disappointing to hear. And also the legendary items, this is a big surprise. The legendary items are going to be available as soon as the raids are released. Originally they said that they were going to wait until the Mythic race was finished, so like a couple of weeks after Mythic was released, to make it to where you can use the legendary items in Mythic raids, but they just decided that, hey, we're going to let people use them right from the get-go. So I'm not a Mythic, I'm not like a world first top-end progression raider, so I don't really care, but I can see this kind of trickling down and affecting lower level players, and having some person lose a slot because they didn't get lucky with Titan Forge RNG or Legendary RNG. So I do think that it could potentially be very negative, but we'll have to see how it plays out. I know a lot of people in my beta guild, Swag Donalds, have gotten legendaries so far, and it hasn't really completely changed their DPS, so again, we'll just kind of have to see. Also, in my previous video about the Legion Summit, I said that artifact knowledge was going to be account bound. Ian said that it's not going to be account bound. So I guess it's not going to be account bound. It will still be character bound, but it won't be account bound. Disappointing. I guess kind of in a way, but I do think that people should be able to focus on one main character and be able to kind of put all their time into that character and still get something out of it. So maybe this won't be too bad of a change. Also, let's see, the two specs, like whenever you're leveling up one artifact weapon and then another one, there will be one artifact weapon that will kind of, it's not like you can level up both of them at the same rate. So that is kind of shitty, but we'll again have to see how it is. And classes that have like maybe like let's say like as a mage, frost mages are way better than fire mages for something. I could see where that could potentially be an issue and frustrate a lot of players, but I don't really know how the tuning is going to go, so I mean you can't really know yet. Also, they said they're going to be adding flying into Legion about halfway through the expansion. I know a lot of people were pissed off about flying in WoD. I think that it worked out really well at the beginning, and then whenever they added it, I think it worked out really well the way they added it. So they're probably going to do something similar to that, but you can work on the first step of the, I guess, Legion Pathfinder as soon as Legion comes out. So I do think that's a pretty good compromise. Also, along with the abilities, a lot of our abilities, the UI is getting pruned. And I'm really not very happy about this. Honestly, I think it's really fucking stupid. Like, it almost makes me madder than the fucking RNG loot. Because, like, how... I mean, like, what you say is going to confuse people. What? Who can get confused by UI options? Like, what the fuck is going... I don't understand it, man. Like, I really don't. I don't understand why they can't have advanced options and then normal options, the same as they have with the graphics. Like, why did they have to just take them out of the game? Like, it's really, really stupid. I'm not happy about it at all. And I think that I'll make a whole video about the UI at some point, but I do think that they're just probably going to take buttons out because they think it's going to confuse people. Like it's going to confuse people between having more options. Like, it's... Like, it wasn't simple enough already. But they did say that all of that stuff is still in the base game's code, so there will be add-ons to allow people to, I guess take advantage of those old UI options through add-ons, but it just won't be available in the base game. And last thing is the Legendary Ring is going to get nerfed. I said that it wasn't. They said that it wasn't. But apparently it is. Now, it's not going to be completely removed. Well, they will actually remove the questline for it whenever Legion comes out. But they will also, what do you call it? The Legendary Ring will still be kind of useful, but it won't be. It won't have the same power that it does right now, which I would say is probably a pretty good thing. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much what they went over in the Q&A today. Now, I thought everything went pretty well. Aside from the things that I didn't like, and as I said before, I'm just very, very happy that they are doing these Q&As, and so I do really, really appreciate them doing that. And they will have one coming up for Professions, and also one coming up for PvP. So anyway, I'm curious to see what you guys think about this. Like, I don't really like not being able to target the legendary items. It's like really, really shitty to me because I think it will kind of be pretty important because which legendary you get really matters, right? Some of them don't matter at all, but other ones are really important. So, that's really kind of a pretty big disappointment. And so is some of the other RNG stuff, especially with them saying that, oh, would you rather have everything RNG or nothing RNG? It's like we want something in between. But, we'll see what's going to happen. Anyway, guys, I'm curious to hear what you guys think. That's what I think. So, that's pretty much all I got. Thank you for watching. And like, comment, subscribe.